Okay, so let's actually talk about movie theaters from the perspective of a person who has managed them and worked in them for a long period of time. And the reason why I want to bring it up today has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of people are like really upset with the idea that Netflix or Amazon or Universal or whomever might be buying up Warner Brothers, therefore shrinking the potential theatrical release window for some of these movies. And people are like, no, we need to save the theaters, man. Are you going that often? That's one question that I have. If you're like me, the answer is no. Okay. But I'm also 43. I've got a full time job. I've got two kids. I've got a relationship. I've got life. It gets harder and harder and harder to go. I would love to go. I'd love to be paid to go every single week to see movies. Hell, if I could reorient my job schedule, I might be able to go more often. But right now I can't. And I don't really feel like I'm missing out very often. Maybe some movies, that deserve to be seen on the big screen. I hear F1 is one. Haven't seen it. Tron Ares is another. Haven't seen it. Haven't had time and haven't necessarily had the inclination to go. But that's just me. Theaters, they got a whole other set of problems, right? I got my real life to deal with, but theaters, they're different. They've changed, and not for the better. So let me first kind of go through my experience, let you guys know what I've done. So I worked at a theater when I was 16, first summer job working at a movie theater. It was a Act 3 theater in Tigard, Oregon. Worked there during Saving Private Ryan, worked there during X-Files, something about Mary. God, we still had Titanic playing when I started working there. That's how long ago this was. We had like 650 theater, a THX auditorium, a bunch of other smaller screens. Did that for the whole summer. Had a great time. Learned a lot about the industry and about theater work and how much grunt work kind of sucks at a standard theater. But hey, free movies, right? Now, fast forward a couple years, I get a job working at a drive-in. Start off making nachos in the snack bar June 15th, 2001. I ultimately left March 10th, 2010, but I left as a manager. I'd been working there for a long time, put myself through film school, put myself through college, and was getting ready to go to LA to go work in the industry. When I got to LA, I fell back on what I was good at, which was managing a theater, so I ended up working at the Regency Academy 6 in Pasadena as a manager for like 13 months. And that place was literally a rat-infested shithole that serviced over 200,000 people a year. A rat-infested shithole. Why? Because it was $2 before 7 and $3 after 7. You ever wonder where the name $3 Theater came from? That's where it comes from, is I was working at a $3 theater. I know. I'm not original. It's okay. I've worked at Hollywood Video. I've worked on movies. I love movies. I love going to theaters. I've seen about 3,000 films. I can't even tell you however many of them in theaters. So I have my bona fides on that one. Here's why I want to bring it up. I talked about this on a live stream last night, but I'll quickly go through it again. Theaters right now, their biggest problem boils down to two things. One is price. It's too damn high. Okay. And that's a problem with the studios because the studios want about half, if not more, depending on the film, depending on the deal of the big releases that they make with the theaters. And the theaters will take the big release deal that they have, where it's like 75 cents on the dollar or something along those lines. And they have to put it in the biggest premium screen for like 2 months, right? And the theaters will do that because they think that they'll make that money back on concessions, which is another thing that's also too damn high. When I was working for theaters, man, we loved busting people for sneaking in outside food or drink. There's actually a negative Yelp review about me from 2011 over on the Yelp page for the old Regency Academy 6 because I wouldn't let a lady sneak in a 20-ounce bottle of Pepsi hidden in a fanny pack. That was a great part of my job. Kind of made me a bit of a dick, I'll fully admit, but you kind of have to. Okay. Because one of the things that needs to happen with theaters, and this is really for any business, but predominantly for theaters, consistency. Consistency has to be a key thing. Your employees, your managers, your corporate policy has to be consistent. And the idea about not putting the customer first and their experience first is the biggest problem. Now, let me explain. Outside of the prices, the other biggest problem that theaters face are other people. Because a lot of them suck. A lot of them talk on their phone, they text, they chew loudly, that's something that can usually not be avoided or whatever. But people are largely disruptive. Why? Because they don't feel that there's any value in what they're doing. They don't think that there's going to be any consequences for acting the way that they're acting. See, this is where, in my opinion, movie theater managers have become gigantic ass pussies. Just gigantic freaking pussies. When I was managing, and I'm not like the biggest, strongest, toughest guy, but I came in there with an attitude that I'd want to work with people on. I would want to sit there and be like, okay, if you work with me, I'll help you out. But if you don't work with me, you're not going to have a good time. And I had this thing locked down to a science. Ultimately, what I would do if a person was getting, meaning or getting loud or getting whatever, right? You'd have to kind of just put the foot down and basically tell them this is how things are going to be. Now, I got away with that at the drive-in because my bosses liked that I did that because they knew that I had everything locked down. It was me running the parking lot, and that would be about maybe 1,000 cars and 4 to 5, maybe 6,000 people during the summer, and I would have to be out there running parking, which means I didn't have time to argue with everybody. So you had to figure out the best way to make it work, and sometimes that meant putting your foot down and kind of being a little bit of a dick. But the reason why I did it was not because I got off on the power trip. I mean, I'm not going to say that I didn't. Everyone has an ego, but the key reason why I did it was because I wanted to show the other customers that this place was under control, that we had it locked down. Your experience comes first, and we will not let other people ruin your good time that you spent good, hard money on because we're afraid of a little conflict. That's gone out the damn window. That's absolutely gone out the damn window now. When I was working at the Regency in LA, again, $2, right? $3 after 7 o'clock. People would act like idiots. People would act like fools, and they would make grandiose demands. They want their money back for their tickets. They want their concessions refunded. They want free tickets for next time. They would make big, boisterous claims, and they would just act a fool. And my boss was a pussy, right? He was an absolute pussy. He would just give them whatever they wanted. He would reach into the register, pull out money and give it to them. Not even count how much it was. Now, there's some other stories with that might tie into why he did that. But he got mad at me constantly because I put my foot down with the unruly customers. If you had a valid claim and there was something that we did wrong or something that we could take care of and you're cool about it, oh yeah, I'll bend over backwards. I'll even give you free popcorn. I had no problem with that. Stuff cost us literally like less than a penny. It was like nothing to give it away. It's just a nice little treat. But the people that I'm talking about are the ones who are being rude, being disrespectful. And then when they're being loud and they're being boisterous and they're out there causing a stir and you placate them, well, you end up showing everyone around you, you have no control over your space. You have no control over the theater. You have no control over your customers. You have no control. And my boss was always worried. He's like, well, what if the people that you're mean to, what if they leave and they tell their friends and they don't come here? And I'm like, do you want them to come here? Because I don't want them to come here. I'd rather people who are here already spending money see that we have put up our protection and that we are making sure their experience is looked after. That's what I want to see. Because those people are already here giving us their money. That's not a what if. They'll come back. If that person's friends are like that person, do you really want them here? No. And I feel like that's been lost. I feel like assistant managers now and managers now, they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with the problem. Maybe they're afraid of it turning into violence. When I was working at the drive-in, we allowed people to drink, smoke, or screw. Just don't bother anybody else. I've had several threats of violence. I've had people threaten me with knives and make threats of having guns and everything else like that. They never did it. All right. So I never really let it bother me. But I still maintained my position that you have to put the customer experience first. They're the ones who are here paying your bills. So the problem with theaters is that they're not evolving to meet the needs of the clientele. They think premium large format screens are going to be what brings people in. They feel that recliner seats, maybe with vibratable butt plugs in the future, who knows, are going to bring people in to create the premium experience that they can't get at home. Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can. I can go down to a furniture store right now and I can spend $800 and get a premium movie theater seat, reclining seat, pay $15 a month for 5 years and have it delivered to my house, park it right in front of my TV, put my headphones on and get a nice, comfortable, big screen experience without having to leave the house. That will eventually pay for itself over time with the money that I'm not spending going to the theater. You know, that's not going to get me there. That's not going to get you there. And it's not even better movies. It's a better experience because even a bad movie is still made fun if you're seeing it with your friends. You still have that experience to pull from. You still have all of that stuff. Well, the theaters don't seem to care anymore. So why should I? Why should you? Why should anyone? Regal, Cinemark, and AMC are dropping $2 billion to renovate their cinemas, to make them more large premium format, to have more reclinable seats, not cheaper prices, not cheaper concessions, not to make this working man's art form affordable for the working man. So I'm sorry if I don't feel bad that something I love, truly love, and have spent a lot of my life working in that industry is part of it is dying because it will not evolve to meet the needs of the consumer. And that's where I'm at with it. So your thoughts, your opinions, let me know. Talk to you guys later. Peace out.